Okay, let's get started then. Well, this is exciting. As far as my understanding goes, this is the first time that we've been able to really meet with our 2020 state ambassadors and to have this open question and answer session with them. We're really excited to get to know each and every one of them and to kind of hear their answers and experiences as they've reached the position that they're in, and kind of help all of us understand what it takes to be a leader in 4-H, regardless of how large the position seems. So if you ambassadors, if you'll just introduce yourself, we'd love to get to know you.
Hi, my name is Trinity Hale and I'm from Box Elder County.
All right.
Hi,
My
I'm
name
Jesse. Sorry, Spencer.
No, you go, Jesse.
Okay. Hi, I'm Josie Wilson-Hume and I'm from Juab County.
All right. I am Spencer Coca and I'm from Utah County.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wynn, and I'm also from Juab County.
I am Ashlyn Montague, and I am from Salt Lake County.
And I'm Jolene Bunnell. I'm the adult advisor that works with the state ambassadors. So we had a few questions that came in on the website or on the Instagram, and also some other questions that came up. And I think what might be the best to start with is to go over where you find information about the state ambassadors. And some of these questions will be answered as we do that. So I'm going to have Josie share her screen, and then she's going to go show where things are at, and then some of these questions I might lead you to where to find some of those things on there if you need to. Okay?
Alrighty, sounds good. Okay, so finding the information is pretty simple. Just look up Utah 4-H and it will take you first link. You go to your Utah 4-H page. Then you want to go to what we do. This kind of shows like what 4-H is about and what programs we have, and you can just scroll to the bottom and it has 4-H state ambassador. Click on that and it shows us and all of us, and then our information from the program. So here it has all the purposes of state ambassador, our duties, our qualification, and then all the dates to become a state ambassador. And each one, it just has some information on each section on what we do and stuff. And then we have apply to become an ambassador.
Before you leave that, one of the questions was, what is it, what's the prerequisites? What's the qualifications to become a state ambassador? Can you go over that, Josie?
Yes. So under the state 4-H ambassador qualifications page, it has some bullet points here. Some of the qualifications include a 2-year 4-H member with experience as a junior or a teen leader. You have to apply during your 10th or 11th grade year, so you would serve as your 11th or 12th grade, so you have to be a sophomore or junior to apply, and then you would serve as a junior or senior. You have to be active in your local club, you have to love 4-H, of course, and then you have to have time to be able to spend the amount of time that you should be able to in 4-H and fulfill your role as an ambassador well. You have to be responsible to be able to do your duties well. Attending orientations and being able to serve and travel is very important when we're a state ambassador. You have to be able to go and do what we're supposed to be doing and help the 4-H as much as possible when we're serving. You have to have pretty good grades. B average is a 3.0, so keep above a 3.0. And then support from your county and your parents is really important. And you have to have previous leadership experience so that you know what you're doing and to help keep yourself a little bit more prepared and experienced. As a state ambassador, sometimes we have to get pulled out of school every once in a while, so you have to be willing and able to pull out whenever you can and just come out of school and be able to willing to serve the 4-H during school hours. And then if you were previously a state ambassador, you have to reapply each year. So those are some of the qualifications that you have as a state ambassador.
Can I ask you kind of a follow-up question with that, Josie? So in the chat box, which if anyone has questions and comments, they're more than welcome to add it in the chat box. We are curious, what kind of content would you put in a portfolio that you would be submitting to be an ambassador?
So
Go
for
to
the kind
next page.
of stuff you'd put in a port.
Why don't you go to the next page? Go down to the bottom, apply for state ambassador. And so they can see that page when you're there. There's a section on the portfolio.
Yes. Alrighty.
So that resume and cover letter is your portfolio.
Okay. If I can. My goodness, this is taking up half my screen. Okay, so it has our project and then interview resources. Okay, so here's your resume. So you have to have a 2-page resume, and this goes through all your skills and accomplishments as a 4-H member. For the kind of portfolio that we've been submitting for judging the past couple of years is the same format that we'd be using for the one for applying for state ambassador. So 2 pages, you want to put all your 4-H experiences, awards, recognition, involvement, activities, and the amount of community service hours you've done. And then on your cover letter, there is a list of questions that you have to answer inside your cover letter. But you want to put yourself into the best light that you can and include your skills and experiences that you have in 4-H and your objective in serving 4-H and why you want to be an ambassador.
Thank you.
Okay, and then tell them just a little bit about this page. What's on this page?
All right, so this page has all the resources that you would need to apply to be a state ambassador. So it has things such as the ambassador handbook and where to apply through Z Suites, and then what kind of information that you need with your cover letter and the confidential letter of recommendation. It also gives you some resources such as judging sheets and then examples of things that would be a little to help you show you what you really need to have on your resume and cover letter, as well as your other stuff that you would need to do for interviews.
So Sarah, you had some questions about the letter of recommendation. Do you want to talk about those? That was a question.
That one was mine.
Oh, sorry, Ashlyn. Yep, that's yours.
You're good. Okay, so Josie, since you're sharing your screen, do you want to go and click that confidential letter thing for me?
Yes.
So this year we changed the format of the confidential letter. You used to have to go get it physically written by each of your people. This year we've done it in a virtual format. So what you're going to do is you're going to send this link to the 3 people that you need to fill it out. You have to have one of your county extension agents fill one out, and then 2 people that had an impact from your 3-month project fill it out. So it just goes through your name and then who you are, and then they talk about how long you've known this candidate, and then if you recommend this youth or not. And then it explains why you feel this candidate should be selected, their strengths and weaknesses. If you don't recommend them, they ask you why, and that's it. And so you won't ever see what this person says about you. You'll never know what they say, but that is for those 3 people to fill out.
So when do you turn this in, Ashlyn?
So this is turned in when you turn in your entire binder with your 3-month project report and your cover letter and resume. It's just done pretty much right after your 3-month project.
Yep, so I would suggest that you contact people that are in your project or your agent earlier, but give them maybe a deadline a teeny bit before when it's due. So it's due the 1st of April. But give them a deadline like, hey, can you get that in by a week before or something, and then just email me when you're done, that you've done it. So then that's a little scary for these candidates, not physically having that to turn in, to know that they're done. So I would just recommend you to talk to your person you've asked to fill them out and have them verify that they're done, like maybe a week before. And if they're not, then you have a week to bug them to get it done as well. But it's not as complicated as it was before. It's a little simpler. Okay, so there's a question in the chat. Let's see. How is the project determined that they should be working on? Okay, so 3-month project. Spencer, do you want to talk about the 3-month project?
Yeah. So, so the 3-month project, what is the 3-month project was one of the questions, and then the next one that Julian just read. So the 3-month project is obviously 3 months, and in those 3 months, you're going to come up with basically, I'd say anything that either promotes 4-H, it recruits new teens into 4-H. I can't remember the other ones. They're there on the ambassador page also. Julian, can you help me really? It recruits, it promotes.
Fundraising, you can run a club or do a countywide event.
Yeah, so those 3 things. And basically, yeah, I mean, sorry, 5. And so basically you can make it as big or as small as you want, and you can choose any age group. You know, if you want to work with Clover Buds, then you can work with Clover Buds. If you want to work with, you know, like 14 to 18-year-olds and recruit teens, you can do that. And so just as an example, like I can use mine where I, over the course of 3 weeks, 3 months, every week, I would host a workshop, just, you know, like at my house or something. And I would invite people to come, people that I felt like would be interested in 4-H, or that, you know, I heard some of my friends that were like, oh, I don't have any leadership experience, you know, whatever. And 4-H is obviously a great place to do that. And so it can be anything like that. Ashlyn did a project where she ran a horse club, and she did that for 3 months. And so it's anything like that, any of those 5 objectives, and you can read all about the 3-month project on the page also. And a lot of people ask, you know, well, what if like my project fails, you know, no one comes, no one shows up. Well, guess what? Like for me, like every other week, no one would show up to my workshops, and it would feel super crappy, you know, like I would just feel devastated. But that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for whether the project was a success or not. They're looking for your dedication, you know, like your creativity with the project, how much effort you put into it, and what you've learned personally from it. And so that's why they also do like a 3-month project summary, but I guess we can talk about that later if anyone has questions about that. But for now, that's basically what your 3-month project is.
So how do you get it approved, Spencer?
So what you're gonna do is you're going to brainstorm. You're gonna sit down and brainstorm. You can brainstorm any few ideas. I mean, Evan Smith did his he tried to recruit people into the Notables group, and that failed. And he started another one where like he tried another group, and that failed. And you know, he ended up doing like 3 different projects, but they were all approved. But you just basically write up a proposal, and you can see all this again in the Utah State Ambassador page. If Josie's still sharing her screen, maybe she can find it for us. But you can write a proposal, and all the requirements we can see here on the page for your 3-month project resources. And it doesn't have to be super elegant or anything. You basically just write maybe like a few paragraphs saying, this is what I'm gonna do. these are the resources I'll use, you know, like I'll target this age group, Clover Buds, juniors or seniors. And yeah, that's kind of what you do. And then you send it in to Jolene, I believe.
You'll send it up, you'll upload it when you apply in Z Suites.
Yeah, so so that's another thing. Z Suites is kind of new. People are still learning how to use it, but there's a link on the page for Z Suites when you apply for state ambassador. And yeah, at the top, I think apply through Z Suite, and everything will be in the Z Suite, and you upload it. And I don't know where the requirements are exactly. Jolene, would you know?
There really isn't that many requirements, but you're supposed to get it approved by your 4-H program coordinator or 4-H staff. So work with them. So brainstorm your ideas and talk to them, and pretty much they always get approved. If you're like wanting to run a club, they're like, yeah, run a club. Or if you want to do a county event, yeah, how can I help you? We can help promote that or whatever. So yeah, work with your county faculty or staff, and they will help approve that. And when a youth submits it, if the county approves that registration, it's like an event registration, but no cost. When they approve it, that lets me know the county has approved it. So then you're accepted. If your county approves it, I'm going to approve it. So
Great. We have 2 questions in the chat.
I was gonna say, can I take one of these questions?
Yeah, go for it. So let me just share what those questions are. So the questions are, does the project have to be over before you apply, the 3-month project? And do the participants of that project have to be strictly 4-H youth, or can they be other youth?
So Spencer, if you want to take the first question, I'm just going to answer on the second one. For the 3-month project, you asked if it only has to be youth in 4-H or if it can be other youth in your county. So for my project, what I did was I was trying to get youth involved in the 4-H horse program because a lot of youth don't know about it. And so what I did was I just contacted everyone in my neighborhood, my cousins, any family members or friends that I knew that were interested in horses. And none of the girls that came and participated in my project were in 4-H because I was trying to recruit them in 4-H. So you can have youth that are in 4-H or ones that aren't, especially if you're trying to recruit people into 4-H, then they most likely won't already be in 4-H.
Yeah, and that's one of the categories. If you go down at the bottom when Spencer was trying to get these, Josie, where it says the projects must fit into one of the following. It can fit in more of these. That public relations and awareness, that might be all things to non-4-H people. Trying to promote it, people being aware of 4-H, fundraising, county team development, county recruitment, recruiting new kids in 4-H, leading a club or sponsor a county 4-H camp or event. So yeah, a lot of it could go either way, that way.
Sweet. So really quick, does the project have to be over before you apply, and then is the application live in Z Suite already? So to answer the first question, no, the 3-month project does not have to be complete before your application is done, I believe, but you do have to have the proposal approved. So, you know, you send in that proposal like we talked about, and it's approved by your county staff. And then you can start working on your 3-month project. And then state ambassador applications have actually been open since May, and they are due December 1st, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the last day you can apply.
Yeah, so that's the last day you can apply. And so if you really want to do that, you have to be on it. You know, you have about a month to do it. And so yes, it is in Z Suites already, but then with your 3-month project, you could have already been doing it from May, June, July, August, and you could have been done. Or, I mean, I know for a few of the ambassadors, like last year, I didn't start mine until like January, February, March, and that was that was my 3-month period for my project.
Yeah, so they're due 4 months before you submit your write-up on it, your application. That gives you 3 months in that 4 months time to do the project. But you can apply before if you have an idea and you want to do it something that will function a lot better in the summer. So Evan, one of our state ambassadors, was going to do that. His first try was a mountain biking club, and he didn't quite get it going. He got it approved in the summer, but then he didn't start till fall, and then it turned really cold really fast. And so it wasn't working because it was a cold fall. So then he moved to the music group, the Notables, wanted to junior, and he wasn't getting people, and then he changed to a photography club. But by having him starting in July, he was able to adjust and still have enough time to do a project, even though it took him a couple of tries. So that's a good thing to do as early if you can, but you don't have to. Okay, any other questions we should cover on the chat first?
I think we're okay to move on to another question. We can always circle back around, and if you have questions that don't get answered in this Q&A, you're welcome to email Jolene, and if she can, she'll reach back out to the ambassadors and ask for their opinions and advice.
Okay.
So on to another question.
That's what I meant. Is there any other questions on chat you want to cover first before we go to these?
No, I think we're okay to keep moving on.
Okay. So Angela, she's on here now. She is the volunteer advisor for the state ambassadors. And Angela, why don't you tell us what the ambassadors do? What are their duties and their responsibilities?
So this year has brought a lot of changes to the ambassador program because there have been changes within 4-H. So they're still trying to figure out all of their duties, but as of right now, they have they're doing design team training. So they're training youth that will be working at other events. They're doing tri-team training. So that's another time where they will train youth that will go out into the counties and work with tri-teams in different counties. They'll eventually be working with the project ambassadors throughout the state. And then they also have done some fundraising and gone out and done some things where they just represent 4-H. They'll work with I can't remember what it's called in the summer, Youth Summit in the summer.
Teen
And
Summit.
we have 3 of them that are on the planning committee for Youth Summit, working with a group of adults to plan that. They're raising their hand because they're awesome. So they're helping to plan that and to do that. And then the ambassador role is still evolving. So we're still working on some other things that will be going. If you are an ambassador next year, you get to be part of that, where you get to help make changes and kind of figure out what the role of ambassador will be.
And they still do mock legislature.
Oh yeah. And hopefully a 4-H prom, but we don't know if that will happen this year or not.
Yeah, right now it's not approved because of COVID. Too close together. So they're not letting us do a prom yet. That 6 feet social distancing doesn't work too prommy yet. So, but yeah, so kind of they're the top leadership, and they train other leaders. So that's one of their goals, is to train other youth to become leaders, like the design team training, the tri-teaming training, the Teen Leadership Summit is teaching leadership. So their overall goal is to provide training to other leaders in the state. So on that. Okay, let's go to another question. So there's a lot on the 3-month project. So if we don't have any more of those. So how long do the state ambassadors serve? Any ideas?
I can take this one real quick. Yeah, so the state ambassadors serve, interviews are usually in March, right? And then they announce April, and then they announce the new state ambassadors for that year like a couple weeks later. But basically, to answer your question, they only serve for about a year. It's kind of
a
like
15-month time.
Yeah, like 15th, like 1 year and like 2, 3 months, kind of. Because we started in May and we'll probably end in like June this next
July.
year. July, June, July. So yeah, so it's about 12 to 15 months, anywhere in between, just depending on how things work. Like this year, interviews were like way in May, so that kind of cut back our time serving as ambassador. So, but yeah, just anywhere from 12 to 15 months.
Yeah, the standard
Also-
is 15 months, but this year was just weird with COVID, so.
Yeah, can I add to that a little bit? So pretty much as your own team of ambassadors, you'll serve for about 12 months. But when you first start your term, you're going to work with the ambassadors from the year before and kind of get mentored and helped with them. And then you'll go out on your own. And then when you're ending your year, you'll have the new ambassadors come in. So you kind of have like a short month or two where you're working with the past ambassadors or the new ambassadors.
Yeah. So there was a question about the time commitment. So Sarah, how do you manage and balance the life, and how much time does it take to be an ambassador?
I can unmute myself. So, yeah, the time commitment is one of the biggest things that a lot of people have questions about. When I first went into the ambassador application process, that was one of the biggest things I was worried about, is whether or not I was going to be able to have time to actually do this, because like I and like several of our other ambassadors are actually really involved in a lot of different programs. So with the 4-H State Ambassadors, we have a meeting every Monday night that's usually about an hour. Sometimes we go a little over, sometimes under. And then, as we mentioned when we were looking at the website, we also have different events that we help plan that you're gonna have to be prepared to be taken out of school for a little bit. So we typically, this year's been a little bit weird because we're not allowed to do overnight events, but like sometimes we'll have 2-day retreats, and like even if a retreat is only 1 day, the ambassadors are usually there for 2 days. So there's probably about 3 or 4 different events, at least this year. It might be closer to 4 or 5 in a normal year, where you're going to be taking about 2 days to be able to commit that time to working as a team and being able to focus on your events. And I know that like I personally, when I heard about that, I was actually a little scared that I was going to have conflicts and stuff. But for most of our events, we have like a planning retreat at the beginning of the year, and we usually do a really good job to like let everybody talk about if they know they're going to have a conflict. We try and, you know, schedule around when we know will work for most of our ambassadors and also like most of the people that will be attending our events. And so really, it's just about kind of like making sure that you're there for the weekly meetings and being able to take that time out. Your team will work with you if you like communicate with them. Like if you have to miss a meeting, if you let your team know in advance, you know, we can usually work something out so that your responsibilities will be covered and you can review the notes and the minutes for that meeting, and you're usually pretty good. So yeah, I would just recommend that you are prepared to sacrifice those few days every so often to be able to commit to the 4-H. But overall, the ambassador program is really good to work with people, and we focus a lot on youth development. So if that is something that you have reservations about, I would think through it, but don't let that be like a barrier that completely stops you from applying.
So Jack, do you want to talk about that as well? Why did you want to be an ambassador, and how are you balancing all that time?
So when I originally wanted to, can you hear me? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first wanted to become an ambassador, it was because of the ambassadors before me. So I've been involved in 4-H for a long time. So I got involved through them, and I saw what they did, and they recommended me to come and try it. And me, I'm already super involved in a lot of other things, and I like to keep myself busy. But managing 4-H and other activities that I do, it's just, you have to keep your priorities straight. So being a state ambassador, like 4-H should be one of your priorities, but it doesn't need to be your only one. Like there's still time to do other leadership experiences and other leadership just other leadership things that you can do, and you can be involved in lots of different things. So me personally, I just have to make sure that I have a plan set out, that I know what I'm going to do, and I have my priorities on what I'm going to go to. So for 4-H meetings, I know Monday night at 9, I have to be available to get on this meeting. And it's just, it doesn't take up as much time as you'd think, but it takes up more than you'd think, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can I add to that really quick?
Yep. Go for it, Spencer.
Yeah. So 4-H does need to be, if you become an ambassador, you obviously need this to be a higher priority. And a part of that is because serving as a 4-H state ambassador comes with a $10,000 scholarship to Utah State University. If you serve, you know, the full year without like any issues, I guess. And that's probably the biggest reason why they want you to be, you know, dedicated, and you have to be, and 4-H does have to be a priority if you decide to serve as a state ambassador. And yeah, so that's why.
Okay,
All that,
Trinity. Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
All that being said, I think a lot of people are scared of the time commitment put into being a state ambassador. And I think it's, yes, you do have to keep it in mind, but I don't think that being afraid of the amount of time you're going to spend as a state ambassador and the amount of time and effort you're going to have to put into it is necessarily what should hold you back from being an ambassador and putting yourself into this amazing opportunity, like Sarah was saying.
Okay, Trinity, there's a question about the interview process. What's the interviews like?
Yeah, so for those of you who do not know or are familiar with the application process to become a state ambassador, you have to do a application, then you do your 3-month project, and after all that, you turn in a portfolio and come to the interviews. What happens at the interviews is an interview, a prepared speech, an impromptu speech, and an icebreaker / workshop.
And a meet and greet.
And the meet and greet. That was new this year.
Yeah.
Our group, it was gonna change this year, and they were gonna have a few other things like the problem solving.
Yeah.
That was kind of thrown out the window when COVID hit. I don't know if you got like this next year's gonna have to deal with that, but we got to do that online. And it went pretty well. It was kind of stressful, not gonna lie, but just my advice to you guys is to practice with your faculty and family, friends, and bishops. I did that with everyone I could, and it helped so much. On my interviews, I actually thought of all of the questions, really any question I could think of, and I wrote out answers. I don't know if you can see that, but I wrote out the answers, and that helped a lot because it helped me think out of what I was going to say. And so, yeah.
Okay, Spencer and Jack, you worked with me quite a bit because I was the county faculty at the time. What did we do to help you prepare for interviews?
All right, I'll go first. Or does Jack want to go first?
Nah, go for it.
Okay, so first of all, your county staff are amazing. You know, I think one of the first things is that they'll just encourage you the whole way through. You know, they'll be like, and they also are super helpful at reminding you. They, first of all, you know, they write that letter of recommendation. And then they also, you can ask them literally anything. Like Jolene helped some of us come up with ideas of what even to write our prepared speech on. Jolene met with us every week or every other week, literally 3 months before interviews even happen, and we practiced our, like our icebreaker ideas as a group. We practice our impromptu speeches, and impromptu speaking right now, just to like warn everyone, is probably the most, like the one that people aren't prepared for the most. And it's like impromptu, you can't really prepare for a specific like category or topic, but you can prepare by doing it. And that's what I did, and it's what Julian helped us to do, is by preparing. And we just did it with each other. And at the beginning, all of us kind of really sucked at doing impromptu speaking, because that's actually a really hard one. But anyways, she also helped us go through our prepared speeches, and we all evaluated each other and said, oh, I like this, but you can also work on this and maybe add a little here and take out a little there, whatever. And we just kind of met over Zoom, and she helped us so much. And that's what your other county staff can help you do.
So yeah, adding on to what Spencer said, your county agents are there to help you. So for me personally, when we originally started meeting, and just like when I go talk to Jolene about state ambassador, I was always a little bit scared, because I knew that like it wasn't going to be the best, and I knew she was going to help me. But to me, I was always a little bit nervous because I didn't want to be embarrassed of failing at an impromptu speech or just not writing out a prepared speech very well. And so I think you guys, like, you need to remember that they're there to help you. They're not going to like get mad at you for failing at something. So you need, when you're practicing with them, just try your best, and they'll give you their feedback, and listen to it, because they know what they're talking about. They've been through this process, maybe not themselves, but they've helped other people go through this process before. And so they know what they're doing.
I'm going to add in some comments to the staff, because we got some staff that are on here. When I was in that role as a county over the 4-H program, I would plan out those 3 months to work with and plan events that would help them. So if they have to do an impromptu speech and a prepared speech, I ran my speech competitions during that time. So they would have to do it in front of judges, and then I'd say, hey, you have to sign up if you're running, because you need to get judges to critique you. And then it helps them be prepared, and they're not leaving it to the last minute before the interviews and don't have time to improve it. So they'd have to write out their speech and come and do it. And usually they're not as good at the county contest time as they are by the time they give it. So they've really had time to improve on that. So I offer those early. All year long, if kids are saying, I might be interested in that, it's like, okay, I'm going to have you teach a workshop. That's this exact same amount of time, 30 minutes with 10-minute icebreaker, 20-minute workshop at teen summer camp or at this activity. So they're getting, and it's like, pick what you want to do for your state ambassador workshop right now, and we'll work on it all year, and we'll try to improve it. So then they have times to practice it and do it. So I kind of help them all along the process, if they're thinking of it, doing it, those little steps all the way along, instead of waiting it for at the end. So that's why I like doing the 3-month project early. So then in those 4 months, you can just work on getting ready for interviews.
Yeah, and one more thing about that is, if you're like me, like I hate asking people for help with things. I like to do it on my own. But I did the same thing with my Salt Lake County agents, where we kind of met every week. And another thing for the staff, one thing they did was they pulled in people I've never met, youth, and they had like random people come into our meetings every week and help judge us. So we weren't used to just talking to people we knew. We got strangers too. So when we're talking to the judges, it's not scary. But asking for help is not something you should worry about doing, because if I wouldn't have asked for help, I probably wouldn't have become an ambassador, because you get so much feedback and so much help throughout those weeks of practice. So that's one big thing with interviews, is don't put it off. Practice months in advance.
Thank you. Those are great advice. We have 2 questions in the chat. One, is the impromptu speech about 4-H, or is it a completely randomized question?
I can answer this one. So it's kind of a mix. Like with my question, I got my topic for impromptu at our interviews was what my greatest weakness was, what my biggest weakness was. And I had to give an impromptu speech on that. So there will be topics that are specifically based on 4-H in there. There will also be kind of some more random ones. A lot of times they're ones about like leadership or certain skills. Like oftentimes it's things they do to kind of like tell and try and analyze exactly what your leadership capabilities are and like judge your public speaking and just kind of like your presence as a person. So typically that's what you're looking at when you're looking at an impromptu topic.
And you select 3 topics and you get to choose out of those 3 which one you want to speak on.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful.
Yeah, along with like those topics, sometimes they can be really weird. Like my 3, I had some tough ones that were hard to talk about for a long time. Like one of them was what my favorite holiday was. And that one's just kind of harder to talk on because you can only say so much about what your favorite holiday is. So if you do get the chance to have kind of a question you can go more in depth on, like Sarah's, what's your greatest weakness, that's easier to talk about.
Great.
And again, that's why you practice months in advance, because like I said, impromptu speaking is probably the one, I'd say the one that the most people don't do as well on because they don't have that practice. And literally just have your parents come up with like a random topic and start practicing. You get like, what is it, like 1 minute, 2 minutes? Is it 3 minutes to write?
3 minutes.
3 minutes to write an outline. You have a piece of paper and pencil. You can write whatever you want. And, you know, just practice with that. And then just as a reference, all the like the impromptu, the public speaking, and the interview, I think all follow state contest rules also. So like the interview follows like the World of Work contest rule, I think.
Don't do anymore, but
yeah. And then that other question, how many state ambassadors are there? There can be up to 8 state ambassadors. Usually not very often, I feel like. There's less than 8 state ambassadors, but it does happen. Yeah, they can be up to 8 if, for whatever reason, if the judges, you know, just judge you, I don't know. If I don't want to discourage anyone because I don't know what happens. Jolene would probably know more about it.
Something that I remember we talked about during our interviews was they picked a team on a size best about which kind of team would work better together. So they may pick 7 if they know that 7 people would fit well together. Say there's one outlier that may not work as well with the group and does not fit the group dynamic, then they may choose the 7 rather than the 8.
or they just didn't, there's like a huge break in the quality of how they did at interviews and all of the things. It's a gazillion people, it seems like, go into who is selected. So we'll have 2 judges for each one of those components. So they'll have 2. So you turn in your letter of recommendation and your write-up on your 3-month project, and your portfolio, which is your resume and cover letter. So you'll have judges that'll judge your project, and judges that'll judge your resume, and probably judges that judge your cover letter. So that could be like 6 judges right there. And from that determines who goes to interview. So we'll bring up to about 18 or 20 to interviews. And some years you've been cut out at that point. So your 3-month project is really important how you write it up, because if you might not even get to interviews if you don't, but sometimes we don't have that many who apply. And so then most of them will make it to interviews, but those go into your score. It's not just get you to interviews and then that's done. It's all everything else. That's still part of your score of that. And then you'll have 2 to 3 people judge your interview, 2 to 3 on your impromptu, your prepared speech, your impromptu prepared, your workshop, your icebreaker. And then you have projects that they kind of give you, like monthly tasks that you have to do during that 4 month time. We'll have monthly tasks that go into that. So all of those, so there's like 30 judges that go into who chooses the ambassadors or what scores. So it's all tabulated on those scores. Every year I come out of interviews, and because I have to interview a lot over the years, and I've never picked fate. I've been off every year by 1 or 2 people. You know, so usually have 2 or 3 that you think, oh yeah, they're gonna make it. There might be 2 or 3 down at the bottom, like, yeah, they just weren't as strong as they needed to be. But then you have 15 in the middle that could go anyway because they're all really good, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so close. So I've never picked the right ones of what I've seen. And I usually been the judge at the impromptu. And so, you know, that's what I'm seeing them perform at doing. And I've never picked I've never picked the exact 8 that have been chosen. So it's not like, oh, we're just like, well, I think this group will work good together. We really don't do that. It's just if there's a break in those scores, or like, okay, they just didn't quite perform as well. But it's been a long time since we haven't. 2010 was the last time they took 7. So it's been 10 years.
Also, yeah, with that, don't let there being like 40 judges scare you into it, because if you think about it, if you have one judge that doesn't like you, it doesn't really matter because you have 39 other judges that might like you. So don't let there being a lot of judges scare you.
And if you kind of bomb one section, you're fine. Don't come out of it, oh, I've lost this whole thing, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I just didn't do super good at that, but you did really well at the interview, and you didn't do very good at your prepared speech, and it balances itself out. And yeah, it's just nice that there's so many different components. And oh yeah, the other part, we called it the leadership skillathon. So there's like, you have to MC a meeting, and you know, you have a problem that you have to solve, like the AV equipment's not working. What do? You don't have your cord. How would you run this workshop without your computer cord? Or, you know, all of those things happen all the time when you're presenting and doing things. And so we want to have you do some problem solving, and then meet and greet, to meet dignitaries and people that you might ask for money, and all of those things on how to meet and greet and have a little thing like that. So it's actually kind of fun. Interviews are actually kind of fun too. Scary, but fun.
Yeah, can I just say, I was super bummed that we didn't get to do it in person, because actually interviews is usually like an overnight event. It's a 2-day thing. And my sister got to do that, and she's like, that was so fun. Like, obviously you compete against each other, but you also get to know each other better as friends, just everyone who's there. It's kind of like a little mini statewide retreat, I guess, and you get to know the candidates, and so that's part of the fun and the journey, is just doing that. And I was super bummed we had to do it online this year, but interviews is also a really fun time.
Yeah. So we're getting close on time. I want to ask the state ambassadors, why, now that you've been one, what, are you glad you did it? Why, all of that kind of stuff. Why you would recommend someone try this?
I think I can go first, but I think one of the coolest things so far as a state ambassador is how close all of us have become so fast. Like, we're all best friends right now. We can all text each other, and we all have fun and can hang out and outside of 4-H situations and still have a lot of fun, even when we're not in our leadership roles. So I think like growing that friendship and growing that family as a ambassador group is really awesome.
Okay, I'd like to go next. So kind of along with what Josie said, this, like, our state ambassador team is probably it is my favorite leadership experience I've had. I've had the chance to be a part of a lot of different groups and like leadership teams over the years. And some of those, you know, our team dynamic wasn't the greatest and some kids didn't get along and it was kind of difficult. And I was going into this, I was kind of worried that maybe by chance we would have that. But typically the group of kids that ends up being state ambassadors, this is a group of people that love 4-H, and pretty much everybody's going into this because they're passionate about the same thing. And a lot of times you guys have a ton in common and everybody goes into it with such a great attitude that this has just been like one of the most like enjoyable leadership experiences. Like we all have a group text together and we will just send each other hundreds of messages because we all just click so well and we have so much in common because of our 4-H experience and like what we're passionate about. And so just being able to have this group of people that you're so close to and then being able to like talk and share about something you're passionate about, like sometimes doing workshops and like leading things like that can seem really intimidating going into it, but it's actually, once you get the hang of it, it's actually super fun to be able to like take something that you love and you're passionate about and actually teach and share that with other people. So that's one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, I would definitely recommend being a state ambassador.
All right, I'll go next. I just want to say, so first of all, number one reason is because you get to work with other people and it's like really fun. Yeah, just working with the other state ambassadors. That's like probably one of the best reasons because you just get like so tight knit. Like already our group is really close, I feel like. And then the second reason,
And they haven't been able to get it together as much as normal.
Yeah, I mean, and like despite that, we've still found like other ways. Like literally, like today we made like another group chat where we play like online games with each other or something. So like it's super fun anyway. But then like reason number two, you'll look back like at the end of your ambassadorship, you're like already me looking back from when I started my 3-month project, I was like, wow, I've already learned so much. And I've changed as a person, even just, you know, like everything, I mean, just 4-H in general with my experience has just been amazing, but like, especially this, with the experiences and like now it gives you a lot of good things to say on your resume. I mean, like that's a bonus and you can have so much to brag about in like applications, that you're a state ambassador. So that's always good. But I just say the experience and the people that you work with is probably like the best reasons that I would say just to work with, to apply and like to serve as a state ambassador.
I will go next. My main reason was for this jacket right here. I freaking love this thing. Just kidding, not really. I love being in like the top and making those decisions and like having fun. And I've been having so much fun with my 7 new best friends. And it's just so much fun. And it's a great leadership experience and I've grown so much.
Hey, Jack, why don't you go next?
All right, so for me, it's been a really interesting leadership experience because it's so widespread. Like Trinity's clear up in Box Elder County, Blake is clear down from Wayne. So it's people from all over the state. And so it's interesting to get all these new ideas and all these new traditions from each of the different counties and put them all together. And so it's cool to see all the different ideas and things that we bring up. And it's very different than other leadership positions that I've been in because of all the diversity of where we're from and the different counties we're from and the ideas we bring from there. Yeah, and project areas like Ashland is super involved in horses, and and then you have Evan and Spencer who have been involved in the leadership side and the public speaking and not really the agriculture side of 4-H. And then you have Blake, who's over in the STEM and music side of 4-H. And there's so much diversity in this team that it's really cool to see it come together and events that we can plan and do.
Okay, so I think I'm the last one. So when I went into this process, my main reason I wanted was the scholarship, because who wouldn't want that scholarship? But that's kind of changed because, you know, you think a lot about that, but then you start thinking about what you are going to do to affect your team and what you're going to do to affect the state. I've learned so many different things from working on this team, from learning about how different personalities work together, which is really interesting to watch in a team, and learning how to run camps and leaderships throughout the state. So really the learning aspect is a huge thing for me. And that's one reason I would really recommend it to others. And then another reason is, like everyone else is saying, is the friendships that you build with your team. Like our team, we've created a tradition where we go to Bahama Bucks after every event. And I don't know what we would do without that. It's so fun. We just go and we sit in all of our cars and roll the windows down and talk for hours. And those separate events outside of 4-H really bring you together and make really strong friendships that will last for a long time.
Okay, I know we're getting close on time, but I was a state ambassador a gazillion years ago. So in the 80s is when, 1980s is when 4-H started the ambassador program. And so I was kind of one of the original 4. There was 4, and it started in July, and then 1 left on his mission in November, and I took over for that one person, finished his year, and then I was an ambassador for 2 more years. So I was an ambassador a long time. And we used to only have 4. And then by the time I quit, it was, or when I was out, we were doing, 1 year was 8, 1 year was 12, all over the place. But I look back at my experience as ambassador as a pivotal change in my life, building my self-confidence, my ability to speak in front of people. It pushed me out of my comfort zone all the time to be an ambassador and take these roles. And the 4 elements of positive youth development: belonging. Every one of you talked about those friendships that you're building with us as adults and with each other and with people around the state. That's so important. That independence, making decisions, making a change in the state, being that leader, that independence is important. You're mastering all those skills that are building your confidence, and you're giving back to the state. So it's the perfect example of positive youth development that you can get. And when I came out of this, I have gone my entire life and never been not offered a job in an interview. I can handle, there's nothing you're gonna go through on an interview for a job that's harder than an interview for being a state ambassador. You are gonna push yourself out of your comfort zone to do this. And it's hard. It's not an easy process. I think it's easier being the ambassador than becoming the ambassador, going through the interview process. It's scary, yeah. It's hard, but you are a new person when you come out of it. You really are. You're more confident, you're stronger, you're better prepared for life, better prepared for college, for work. It is the best program to do all of that. And so I think it's infused my love of 4-H by being an ambassador, that I wanted to be over 4-H for my career. You know, that was like, okay, I'm doing this because I want to help kids. And it was the ambassador program that I wanted to be over. So it's my dream job now to be at 4-H, but now it's even more the dream job that I'm over the state ambassadors. And so I just encourage all of you to run. And if you're that age, anytime you want to email me, text me, call me, or Angela, we will help you through the process and ask us questions. All of the staff, don't be afraid to ask us questions. And how do you do this, Jolene? And what about this? How can I help our kids here? And all of that stuff. We're so willing to help you prepare. So you're not going at this alone and trying to navigate how to become an ambassador all on your own. It's even if you don't make it, you are part of the ambassador program by just trying out, and you will grow a ton from the process, and it's way worth it. So
Thank you so very much. I think that we can all walk away tonight just feeling pumped up and ready to go out and be leaders in our 4-H communities, as well as like our own neighborhoods and school environments. So thank you very much, State Ambassadors, for your thoughts, for your experiences, and especially to your advisors. They work so hard to help you guys get to where you are, and it's just noticeable. So thank you very much. We just wanted to end by just reminding everyone that regardless of whatever stage of 4-H you're in, if you're newly admitted or if you've been like a long seasoned veteran, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved in leadership positions, such as within your own club, in your junior teen and teen councils in your counties. You can become like a project ambassador within your county, or a region ambassador, and all the way up to a state ambassador.
yes, so this is just kind of the pathway. This is kind of the pinnacle of all those leadership things along that path as well. So
That's so true. So thank you very much for everyone who's come. As always, reach out to your 4-H county office to find out new ways that you can get involved that will kind of add to your resume, add to your portfolio, that will prepare you for an experience like this. So thank you so much.